Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel this evening. Thank you to all those of you who tuned into this morning's episode. Those morning episodes, I've been kind of trying to mix those in here the past little bit, and they've been working out pretty well. I think the reception for them has been pretty good, and especially today, having a very positive topic like Paul Coffey and the Edmonton Oilers to talk about. Well, hey, who can go and say no to that, right? It's fantastic to see what the Oilers defense has done under Chris Knoblauch and, of course, Paul Coffey. So enough of that. We move into what is going to be an original six, three-game road trip that is going to be absolutely massive for the Edmonton Oilers. And what I mean by that, friends, is if you win every game on this road trip, you set a franchise record for win streak all time, 10, right? That's where we're at 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom, bang, boom. Yeah. You've done it. You've had your best win streak all time in franchise history. So we'll have more on that in a moment, friends. If you are new to the channel, I encourage you strongly to hit that subscribe button here on Dolynny TV. Still slowly plowing away to 15,000. Just about 624 away at this point. So we can have some big old milestone here sometime early in the new year. Anyway, I don't have any graphics queued up for this. I keep leaning over to my computer like I do. So it's mono, you and me. Let's just discuss kind of what's going to happen here for the Oilers over the next little bit. You face Chicago, then Detroit, then Montreal. If you've been paying attention to the NHL, Detroit had a great start to the year. That's about it. I know they've kind of fallen down the standings here. I guess I can use some reference guides here to actually get you some information that might be useful for this video. But the standings for those teams, like Montreal, is not in a good spot. Detroit's in 10th in the Eastern Conference. They're an 8th place team in their conference. I mean, so too are the Oilers. They have more points than the Oilers. They have 44. But I think for the Oilers right now versus the Detroit Red Wings, who were hot to start the year, I think the Oilers are a little bit more of a team on a rise, I guess you could say. And for the Red Wings, as it currently sits to just end of the day, is they weren't expected to be a top-tier team in this league this year. They were expected to be a team that competes for a good playoff spot. So that's interesting to note there that Detroit's probably going to be the toughest team on the schedule, despite the past few years for Detroit, and obviously the start they've had versus the last few games. For Montreal as well, though, they're in 13th place, 39 points, a meandering, I guess you could say, 5 games below 500 technically, right? 22 losses. Yes, 5 are in the extra frame, 17 in regulation. And that's kind of the weird developing part of this Oilers season, who currently sit in 8th place in the Western Conference with 41 points, games in hand on both Seattle and St. Louis, is we've got 20 wins and we've only got 16 losses all told, only 1 in the extra time. So for us, that's where these 2 win streaks, the 8-gamer and the current 7-gamer, have been so pivotal. And now especially this trip out east through Chicago, through Detroit, into Montreal, then home to face Toronto, is going to be so pivotal for the Oilers this season, because it's not necessarily that it's garbage time and the Oilers have to make up 6 points. It's that even if you win 2 out of 3 of these games, right, give the Oilers the 2 games against whoever of these 3 teams on this trip you want to give, that's 45 points. You're right in the mix now with where Nashville is. You're right in the mix now with where Los Angeles is, who has lost 5 straight already, if not more, I don't know. But honestly, right, you're right in that conversation of you're climbing the standings, even if you go 2 and 3. The math very long ago was you had to almost win 68% of your remaining games. Well, for the Oilers to amass another 54 points, technically speaking, that's only 27 more wins, right? So granted, we'll lose 1 or 2 more games in the extra frame, so 26 more wins. In the next, you got 36 games on the docket. You go out there and, well, guess what? You got 46 games to win 26 or 27 and lose 2 in the extra frame. Well, I'm sorry, that's pretty doable math for a second half team the past 2, possibly this year as well, 3 years for the Edmonton Oilers, who only sit with 36 games on the calendar so far. Yes, Los Angeles has 36 and they got 46 points on the year, but again, as we know with Cam Talbot over the course of his career, especially when he was with the Oilers, you're not expecting him to sustain elite level goaltending all year and then be an absolute stud in the playoffs either. That's just not the way it worked in Edmonton. That does not be the way it has been anywhere else in his career so far. So for Jack Campbell, situation, right? I don't know why I brought him up. He's on my brain. I've been reading all about him today. That's my mistake. I should edit this out. I won't. I'll let that, again, live production is what it is. For Cam Talbot, that's who we're trying to talk about. Not to liken the two. But for Cam Talbot, obviously, he's been the story behind the LA Kings' success in terms of his numbers look really good because the LA Kings have committed really well to defense this year. Again, part and parcel, you need good goaltending to make the defense look good, and you need good defense to make the goaltending look good. And if either or falters here, as it looks like it has over the past few games here for the LA Kings over the past 5, that's going to allow the Oilers to climb up the standings here. Like, every loss has been a 1-goal game outside of the 3-0 shutty against Toronto, but end of the day, right, is those are still losses that cost you points in the standings. And for LA, against the Oilers in the race, right, 36 games in for each team, the Oilers are at 10 points of the last possible 10. The LA Kings are at 2 of the last possible 10. That makes a lot of ground for the Oilers, who have closed the gap to 5. And Vegas isn't that far ahead, right? Only 51, so 10 points ahead of us. They only have 4 of a possible last 10 points. So the Oilers, this Eastern Conference swing, I guess you could say. I guess Chicago's in the West, but you go to Detroit and Montreal, it's a majority East swing. You need points here in the bunches, and the Oilers are riding hot. They show no reason why they couldn't beat Chicago, why they couldn't beat Detroit, and why they couldn't sweep the series here out east, the 3-game road trip at least, against Montreal, right? And I think it's all very doable for the Oilers. You're coming off of an emphatic win over top of the Ottawa Senators, where you just stuck with it all game, played very systematic, and beat the Senators rather easily, right? I mean, that's a game where one bounce probably determines whether Stuart Skinner gets a shutout or not. So 3-1, 3-0, whatever you want to say. The Oilers, again, couldn't score an empty netter to save their lives, so that's another story as well. But you look at it here from the Oilers front, is this is an important road swing, not because you're expected to win all 3 games, but more or less the factors that come to play if you do win all 3 games. I'm only expecting them to win 2. I mean, there's got to be a dud in there somewhere, right? We're on a possible 8, 9, possible 10 if you win all 3, but right, you could lay an egg in Montreal like we did last year, or you could quite simply just suck against Chicago or Detroit. Chicago would be embarrassing. That'd be San Jose lost 3-2 all over again. But for the Oilers here, you win all 3. Oh my goodness, does it get awesome. You go up to 47 points, right? LA, the way they're going, the most they can get over reach is just right where you are, a 5-point separation. So you get even 1 or 2 games for LA where they lose, and oh my goodness, 3rd place in the division is right in reach, just somehow out of left field this season seems. But again, boo us, those of us who sat there and doubted this Oilers team and what they're capable of. But again, when you're joking about 8-game winning streaks saving the season, it is nothing more than short of an absolute joke to be told when you're an 8-gamer will solve everything. That's not the way the NHL works, but according to the Oilers this year, 2 8-gamers puts you into 3rd in the division, all the way from last place in the NHL. Welcome to it. The St. Louis Blues have done it. I know we've been trying over the years to compare ourselves to the St. Louis Blues. Everybody's discredited that, but I mean, if they do it this year, there's no other better comparison in recent memory in terms of teams able to do what they've done. The Oilers have meandered through seasons past 2, but not like the start they had this year. So a very important trip out east this start of the new year, I guess you could say. And then coming back home against Toronto will be the real tough test out of the next few games. But even the Toronto Maple Leafs, outside of their goaltending kind of miraculously getting better because of Martin Jones of all people. Not that I'm discrediting Martin Jones. He's a very good goalie and really should never have been doubted throughout his NHL career. That goes everywhere he's stopped. He's had some very brilliant moments. But again, when you're the 3rd string and you're saving the season in Toronto, that's kind of random. But at the end of the day, Toronto's been good. They've won some games. And again, they've given up some goals, but they seem to have solved that. So that's going to be the toughest test out of everything here of the next little bit. But we'll see what comes to fruition for the Oilers here on this Eastern Conference swing, or Eastern road trip swing. Still waiting news on the 7th defenseman recall that Chris Knoblauch mentioned. I can tell you it is coming, I assume, sometime before 5 p.m. tomorrow. If Chris Knoblauch wants a guy in the press box, or whatever the situation might be, you might want to do that before puck drop against Chicago. And clearly you would need him there for practice. So you look at tomorrow's schedule here, and the Oilers are slated to play Chicago at 6:30. So like I said, the recall would have to be done before 5 p.m. That's really the only thing that makes anything in terms of sense. So stay tuned for that. We'll have something out, I'm sure, on that here soon. But I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for being aboard. I am up on out of here.